So first, we're going to start with what is capitalism? This is, of course, a really complex subject. One question might be, where did capitalism come from? Or in some sense, how did we get here, right? Like we're watching this thing on YouTube or whatever it is. How did society reach this point? How did we get here where I've got to work a job at least 40 hours a week? A lot of people work 60 or 80 hours a week. You got to do that so you can get money to survive. If you're sick, you got to pay a doctor money. And, like, how did we get here? How did society get to this point? That is its own really complex question because humanity as a species goes back hundreds of thousands of years. We don't even necessarily know what early humans were doing completely. But from what we're piecing together of early human history, and this will kind of come back up a little bit later, early humans were a lot more communal, cooperative, more of an egalitarian type of society. And over time, because of various influences, various groups have come to power over the others. Some of the earliest forms of people coming to power and dominating others is gerontocracy, for example, which is ruled by the elderly, because at first the elderly knew stuff, right? Like they knew about crop rotations and how to survive droughts and various things. And it kind of grew into various forms of religious things, into monarchy, into business and commercial oligarchy, all of these things that we see a progression over time that, through like the Middle Ages and feudalism and kings and stuff like that. And as the old feudal state began to collapse and people didn't take, kingdoms and stuff that seriously anymore, you saw these commercial business oligarchies rise to kind of take their place as kind of the leaders of communities and societies. And that was essentially the start of capitalism and the idea of a nation state, of these countries that, have leaders and they interact with each other and stuff like that, which is a very different concept for how society works compared to earlier forms of human civilization and society that were, again, a lot more cooperative and treated people more or less as equals within the community structure. So modern capitalism, we'll come back to this in a little bit in a moment, but modern capitalism, you can kind of think of a few different takes on it. One is the social democratic structure, which is kind of what we think of with a safety net, with like having Social Security and Medicare and things like that, where people are taken care of, at least at very basic needs, but you still got to work in this very industrialized, technocratic, hierarchical type of society where, there's rulers, there's people that make decisions above everyone else. There's also neoliberalism, which is probably a term you've heard, which is kind of this intense focus on the markets as the answer to everything, that you let the market decide. You've probably heard that. So you've probably heard these terms and all. So let's kind of dig a little bit more into exactly what all this stuff means.